Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning. Welcome to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ, 750 AM. 312-255-8408 is our number. Father Greg Sakowicz, along with, I'm the rector at the Cathedral in Chicago, and co-host Mark Teresi, Executive Director. Good morning, Mark. How are we doing?
Good morning. Good. I felt like I was in Hawaii with the waves coming up on Lakeshore Drive this
Were they
morning.
pounding over?
Yeah, and I happened to wake up early, watch the news. Some guy yesterday was surfing on the waves. Yeah,
it's interesting that according to Skilling, that from a year ago till now, the water depth in Lake Michigan is 16 inches less than a year ago, but still 16 inches above average. The water level is still high, so pounding the lakeshore, the edges, just causing further erosion.
One question, your predictions on the White Sox, it's coming to...
I know that Brian Hockey Hitman Brock and I may disagree, but right now the White Sox are sputtering. They're playing .500 baseball since June 17th. You've got to get into gear and you got to get that edge. You just can't be sputtering into the playoffs and then flip a switch and start playing. Now, the 2005 White Sox did that, but it's very rare. But they have another 10, 11 games to start winning some games consistently, and they're not executing at all. But that's the topic of another program. Mm-hmm. You can also listen to us on youtube.com/CatholicChicago. And again, 312-255-8408 here on Catholic Chicago. And a great hour lined up this morning. Eugene Giudice, author of Reflections During a Pandemic, Thoughts While Sheltering in Place, joins us for the first half hour to reflect on laying sod for the future. Eugene, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Father Greg. Good morning, Mark. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
How is your beautiful wife, Colleen, doing?
Oh, she's doing tremendously. She's in the other room. It's start of the workday for her and for me as well. So
now you have been members at St. Mary of the Woods. You and Colleen moved in when?
I have to think about this for a second. We were married in 2001, moved into the neighborhood in Labor Day of 2002. So come next year, it'll be 20 years.
20 years. And I know that you have been very involved. That's where I met you and Colleen at St. Mary of the Woods.
You and I met before that because through Knights of Columbus.
Oh my gosh! Which council?
Well, I've jumped around a little bit. I joined in 1456, which is in Melrose Park. I met you at an event, LaSalle Assembly dinner.
Okay, sure. In the 90s.
My memory's correct. Didn't you at one time work in the vocations office?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so that was when we met. So that's
in the late 80s, early 90s.
Because I've been a member now it's 39 years that I've been a member.
You and I met around 30 years ago when I was vocation director, then Niles College Seminary of Loyola University. And LaSalle Assembly had a gathering, and I said in vocation, and that's where I met you over 30 years ago. What a memory. And you and Colleen have been married now 21 years? 20 years?
It'll be 20 years next month. In 2.5 weeks.
Now, the fact that you and I go back 20 years, or really 30 years, that you were kind enough to send me a copy of your book entitled Reflections During the Pandemic, Thoughts While Sheltering in Place. And Mark, I started reading it, and Eugene has daily reflections, and even continues now post the book. Are you in the process then of maybe writing a second book?
The plan is for a second book to come out. which will include everything. So this book here, this is the first year of reflections. It goes from March 2020 to March 2021.
Yeah.
So I'm still writing the reflections. I'm not doing it daily. I'm doing it mainly 3 times a week. What happened is that basically, Mark and Greg, when trying to write something every single day, 5 days a week, it becomes a real grind.
It's tough.
And it's tough. And, I've got a full-time gig, a full-time job, plus all my other things, my Knights of Columbus work, my work with the Special Libraries Association. It takes time.
You want to live a little bit between the reflections.
You want to see Colleen once in a while, too.
Now, could you tell our
that would be
Eugene, could tell our listeners a little bit of your background? I mean, how did writing connect with who you are?
Well, it's a very good way to put it, because I always say that the writing is informed by everything and who I am. So professionally, I work as a law librarian. So I work at the Denton's law firm in the Willis Tower. Right now I'm working from home. So I've been doing that full time for over 12 years now. I got my first full-time law librarian job on tax day of 2007. I've worked in technology. I've worked in consulting. I have an MBA from DePaul. I have a librarian degree from Dominican. But really the impetus for the book was when we all went to work from home, shelter in place, lockdown, whatever you want to call it. We had a firm-wide conference call. And our CEO, Mike McNamara, he told the attorneys, so there was attorneys and staff on the call, he told the attorneys to make sure that during this time that they reach out to their clients, see how they can help them and assist them. But he also made the point, morning hair.
I don't have that problem, Eugene.
Okay, grass don't grow on a busy street.
There it is.
He made the point to the attorneys that don't just reach out to them for business. See how they're doing, like as human beings. Some of them may have health care issues, parental care issues, child care, education, all the panoply of things that we've seen going on during this pandemic. And then he made a charge or a challenge to the staff, of which I am. I'm not an attorney. He said, make sure that you connect with each other, reach out to each other. So that was the impetus for the writing. And what it started was a daily email to just the team that I belonged to, about maybe a dozen of us on the research team. And then it began to grow. It's like, well, I know so-and-so would like to see it, and so-and-so would like to see it. And then I brought in people from the law library community from Chicago. I've got, the law librarian community is very close-knit. We all know each other. I sneeze at Denton's and someone at Baker McKenzie catches a cold. It just that's how the way the community is. And that joined with I do a number of Zoom conference calls every week just to break the isolation. The big one is on Wednesdays, where it's primarily librarians, but anybody can join who gets wind of it. To sit and chew the fat. We do not talk shop. So that built the audience, for want of a better word, for the writing to about 300 now. And people are still coming to the calls. I've done a number of signing events.
That's on Wednesdays?
Wednesdays, usually from 11:30 to 12:30 is the Zoom, is the big, what I'll call this big Zoom.
And you're telling me there's 300 people on that call?
Oh, no, I don't get 300 people on that call.
I was going to say, my gosh.
I get maybe a dozen, 2 dozen.
Oh, okay.
The distribution for the email is about 300.
Gotcha. Okay. And
I don't know. I wouldn't know how to manage a Zoom call of 300.
I was going to say, how do you manage a 300
that would be
people?
absolutely terrifying.
How do people get on that email?
You can drop me an email, eugenegiudice @gmail.com. I don't know if you can put that up on the scroll but just drop an email there. I will add you to the list.
Eugene,
I'll be more than happy to.
For people, spell your last name.
Okay, it's Giudice. So it's Eugene Giudice. There it is, right up on the banner. It's just eugenegiudice@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to add you to the
So really then, Eugene, you're saying to all of us that the impetus for the idea for the book, for Daily Reflections, was really coming from your CEO, who really charged the entire group to go beyond shop, but to check in on each other and how you're doing. And that was really the seed planted for you to write a reflection, read another reflection. And folks, I have to admit, I have read a good part of the book. And Eugene, you really connect well the mystery of God with our lives, where people happen to be at in terms of where the rubber meets the road, because things shut down on March 15th, 2020. That's where your book starts until March of 21. Now you're working on a second one. But then as you send me emails for your updates post when the book ended, you always get a quote from some individual, and you can run an idea there. But it's a short reflection, Mark. It's not lengthy, and you're always making a point. I need to ask you this. Where do you get the ideas daily where you're so creative? I'm sure, like you said, it's really tough to do. So where do you get your reflections every day in terms of the impetus for a seed for a thought?
Usually, I've been searching the web for viable, useful quotations. I was fortunate enough to find out that a colleague of mine at Yale Law School, he's the law librarian there, he edited a new edition of the new Yale Book of Quotations. So I've been starting to use that material as the germinating seed for the reflections. And sometimes it's hard to find something. Sometimes something will connect, whether it's in what's going on in the public sphere, or what's going on. I've used the lectionary, the Sunday Mass readings have been very helpful, and then just my own knowledge of our own patrimony, our own history, patristically. I've been able to use things like from Augustine and that sort of thing.
Eugene, before we take a little break, is there a sample of one of your reflections you could share with us?
Sure. I think I like to share this one because it's early on. This was from April
of 2020.
20. And it brings into really sharp focus the necessity for people to remain connected. And so it goes like this, and it starts, this is from April 17th of 2020. It goes, "Good morning, everyone. It's a snowy morning here in Chicago. Will spring ever arrive? It's been a tough week for many. We read in the press of job losses and cutbacks on all fronts, and maybe we are apt to lose faith and hope in each other. Here's something to consider." And here's the quotation. "Hope is like peace. It is not a gift from God. It is a gift only we can give each other." And that's from Elie Wiesel, the Nobel laureate and Holocaust survivor. We hear a lot about hope and how it comes from within, but Mr. Wiesel turns it on its head. He says that we get hope from each other. Maybe that's the thought for this weekend, that the hope that we carry can be contagious. Let's face it, we all know more about contagion than we did 6 weeks ago. Maybe it is our duty, for want of a better word, to carry and express hope, not so much for ourselves, but perhaps for the people we come in contact with. Hope may become the tremendous categorical imperative that Immanuel Kant speaks about, and it's signed together with you in spreading hope.
Beautiful.
That is outstanding. Now, Eugene, that is outstanding. Mark, on that note, take us to break.
Yes. WNDZ, 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. Or you can see us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're with Eugene Giudice, and we're talking about reflections during a pandemic, thoughts while sheltering in place. When we come back, maybe, Eugene, we could discuss what have you learned? Nobody planned for this time in their lives. And what have you learned during this time? We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
We're headed to the fairways for a fun-filled round of golf supporting the work of Catholic Charities in Cook County. Join us on Monday, September 27th for Catholic Charities Monsignor Michael Boland Golf Invitational at Butterfield County Club in Oak Brook. Golfers of all skill levels are welcome as we hit the links and raise vital funds so Catholic Charities can continue to accompany clients on their journey to greater self-sufficiency. Skill contests, fabulous prizes, and good company await all who attend this signature event. For registration and sponsorship opportunities, call 312-948-6864. That's 312-948-6864. Or visit CatholicCharities.net.
Welcome back.
Es fabuloso verlos.
Dobrze jest znowu być razem.
Qué bueno estar juntos otra vez.
Después de tantos meses separados, se han levantado los límites de capacidad por la pandemia y queremos darles la bienvenida a todos de vuelta a la iglesia. Podemos rezar juntos otra vez y escuchar cuando nuestros coros eleven sus voces en canción.
Hemos estado juntos en espíritu y ahora, cuando estén listos, nuestras puertas están abiertas de par en par.
We're here to welcome you back to Catholic Mass.
Do you have an old bicycle that's not being used? Consider donating it to Catholic Charities Veterans Bike Project of Lake County. Skilled volunteers are refurbishing bicycles to make them safe and ready to be used by veterans to get to and from their new places of work. We also gratefully accept financial contributions that are used to purchase bike helmets and other safety accessories. Our veterans have faithfully served the United States, and now it is our privilege to serve them. For more information on the Veterans Bike Project of Lake County, call 847-782-4219. That's 847-782-4219.
We're back, Catholic Chicago, WNDZ 750 AM, 312-255-8408, or you can watch us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're speaking with Eugene Giudice and talking about his book, Reflections During a Pandemic, Thoughts While Sheltering in Place.
Mark, is that a new jacket you're wearing, corduroy?
It's actually an old.
I was going to say it looks
Does
rather...
it look old?
Yeah, it looks rather old.
Yeah, it is.
It's very nice, though.
$49.99 Macy's closeout. Anyway.
My sweater's rather old, too.
Eugene, on a serious note, so nobody planned for this pandemic. Nobody planned to be living through it, and you've done a creative response to it. What have you learned during this time?
About yourself.
That is a big question. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
The things that has struck me is that I'm becoming into sharper focus of what's really important, what really matters. I give you an example. One day we were in the house and something was broken that was very dear to me, that took me back to my childhood. And in the final analysis, it was like it was just a thing. So I think relationships are becoming more important. I find myself becoming more patient because I have to live the stuff in this book. Okay, I just can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't talk about being more just, being more compassionate, being more inclusive, and not do these things. Because people are no fools. All right, they read this and they see my behavior out on the street, and they're gonna see through that. I mean, it's come into sharper focus to me every time I put on one of the pins. I always make a point of wearing my Knights of Columbus pin and wearing my Special Libraries Association pin. Okay, people are going to look at me, and I'm going to reflect those societies based on what I do out in the street. So my
That's very
behavior
well
has become
said.
more purpose focused, more centric. I've become more patient. I'd like to think I'm becoming more patient. I mean, there are times when I, work frustrated and I just want to tear my hair out, but I find myself getting less impatient with people. I get more impatient with situations. Like I'm trying to work on a research project. Had one last night. I was tearing my hair out over it. Because I think because of the writing, I'm seeing a reflection of who I am in others and seeing their need and my own need. So if I see, like I wrote about it the other day, I go to the store and we're all wearing masks and people are starting to look like a cipher. You only see two eyes and you don't
Right.
see any facial expression. Well, if I'm seeing others like that, maybe some people are seeing me that way. And that's what I'm trying to engender, to remind people that to stay connected as human beings. And I think that's what I'm learning more and more is the connectedness of us as human beings. And also what I'm also always surprised at what's informing the writing. Experiences from my past, experiences professionally are informing the writing, and I'm drawing on a great well from within that I didn't really realize was present.
It's interesting, Eugene, in what you just shared with right now, you have become very introspective during this pandemic in terms of looking within, again, connecting the mystery of God with you and saying that put life in perspective. What used to be so important maybe isn't, because it's all about relationships, love of God, love of neighbor. Mark, how about you? What have you learned about yourself during this pandemic?
Well, a few things. One, now, Eugene, you're married 20 years, we're married 40 years, and I learned we're pretty compatible because we spend a lot of time with each other. And we're also the gatherers in our family, and it was hard to say no to people about gathering in our space. But the other piece, which I always talk about with staff or with anybody who'll listen, we had our granddaughter and our granddaughter Nellie and our grandson James born during the pandemic, which added a sense of joy, but it also added a sense of distance because we could not be as close to them as we would have been with our other granddaughters who were born before the pandemic. So I've just learned every day is a gift and figure it out.
See, like even along those lines in my own life, I've learned how much I really need other people, which I knew, but really experienced when the cathedral closed on March 15th, 2020, like all churches did. And for Holy Week and Easter Sunday, the cathedral was locked. I found it very depressing. Instead of being gathering with the community to celebrate the life, the death, the resurrection of our Lord, all through the Holy Week, the Triduum, here the cathedral was locked, and it needed to be because the pandemic was really bad. Doors didn't reopen until June 15th. We've been socially distanced and isolated. Now, things are getting better, but folks, this pandemic is far from over. So I think if anybody were to say to me or to one of us, I've learned nothing about myself during this pandemic, either they're dead or they're just not even thinking along those lines, because the pandemic has been, for all of us, a game changer. Many have lost loved ones during this pandemic. I've done some funerals involving people who've died because of COVID. Eugene?
I lost my mom died on April 7th, and my dad died April 7th of 20, and my dad died June 13th of this year. So now it was not COVID related. Both had been ailing, but sort of the pandemic has been bracketed by loss in my family.
So you lost your mother about 3 weeks after COVID started, and you lost your dad this year. So you've lost two parents within a year.
Well,
and you speak, and Father Greg, you speak of the Triduum. Mom died on the Tuesday of Holy Week.
That's right. That's right.
We didn't have the traditional, wake and funeral mass.
You couldn't do it.
The deacon from our church, Chuck Thompson. I think, Father Greg, you know him.
Oh, sure. Chuck and Amanda well.
I called him And I said, Chuck, what do we do? He says, well, Eugene, I can do anything you need because I'm free all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And so we buried Mom on. We put Mom in the crypt at Queen of Heaven on.
But you couldn't have a
Thursday.
mass. You couldn't have a mass because
we couldn't have the mass.
St. Mary of the
We
Woods
couldn't
was
have the mass because
closed.
we were in the Triduum. But I was very fortunate. My brother-in-law is a funeral director at the Cooney Funeral Home in Park Ridge, and we had we had a very beautiful, prayerful time.
But the numbers were
Colleen
limited in
and
terms of you. But you had limited number of people who could attend because things were.
My father was living at my sister's home, and they were on serious lockdown because of his health issues. So it was just Colleen and myself, my brother-in-law, his son, and one of Colleen's cousins, all of whom work in the funeral home at the Cooney Funeral Home in Park Ridge, and we were able to do something very beautiful. So we were able to keep the tradition to a great extent, but we found new ways of expressing.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's, I think, what I talk about in the writings is, and you talked about having learned nothing. We're finding new ways of expressing the faith, of expressing spirituality, and I think that's important. We're going to see that. I think there's going to maybe be, after we come out of this, there's going to be a new renaissance of people expressing spirituality, of using the tools of the faith in new and different ways.
And I don't think you take family or friends or any of these moments for granted.
Mm-hmm.
We may have we were at such a fast pace prior to the pandemic that everything moved so fast. I think we didn't get this introspective moment. And now with the pace, like for instance, my sister died, I think it was November 7th, and my grandson was born 2 days later. It was like right in your face that, well, God gives, God takes. And it's within God's time that we're living, no matter if it's a pandemic or not. And you can focus in on the gift of today,
Eugene, as we begin to wind down the program, in the last minute, is give us a nugget of hope for our listeners as you close off the program this morning. Just maybe a sentence or two, or maybe one of your favorite quotes from some author or individual.
Yeah, I'm going to read not the whole reflection, but just the quotation from September 11th of 2020. Terrible day in our world because of the attacks, and I'm quoting from Father Michael Judge, the Franciscan priest who was victim number one on that day. He goes, "If you descend into somebody else's private hell and stand with them, it ceases to be hell." And I think that's what I've learned, is to stand in solidarity with others in their joy, in their pain, especially in their pain and difficulty, because when you are willing to take that chance and to descend into the hell that somebody else is experiencing, it ceases to be a hell. I remember from Scripture, the psalmist talks about the thrice braided cord cannot be broken.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great note to end on. That.
Can I ask how do they get the book?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go ahead, Eugene.
It's available as an e-book, an electronic book, and a print-on-demand book on Amazon.com. There's the page. I'm more than glad to sign copies if people contact me. I'll be we can meet up. I can sign your copy. If you do print on demand, it does take a little bit of time because that's exactly what it is. It's print on demand. So it's not like Amazon has this, stacked in their warehouses.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's both on Barnes & Noble, the Barnes & Noble website, and the Amazon.com website.
And again, it's entitled Reflections During the Pandemic, Thoughts While Sheltering in Place. Eugene Giudice, Giudice. And again, your website is Eugene Giudice.
So the email is Eugene Giudice at gmail.com if you want to receive the periodic reflections.
Good.
And I look forward to hearing from people.
Well, thank you very much for being a wonderful guest this morning. Thank you to Eugene Giudice. author of the Reflections During the Pandemic. And give our love to Colleen. Our number is 312-255-8408, WNDZ, 750 AM. Eugene's been great being with you. Great memories together of our time in St. Mary of the Woods. And this is Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Sakowicz, Mark Teresi. Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages. And again, do not touch that dial.
Catholic Charities in Lake County provides a comprehensive range of social services supporting individuals, families, and older adults. These include crisis assistance, shelter, clothing, family support, counseling, legal assistance, primary health care, and specialized services for seniors and veterans. Grab-and-go meals and food pantries help those who are experiencing food insecurity. Plus, we have a diaper depot to support low-income families and their infants. If we can assist you or someone you know, please call Catholic Charities of Lake County at 847-782-4000. That's 847-782-4000.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
Ancestry and genealogy are more important every day. People all over the world are wanting to learn more about their family heritage for personal and for health reasons. At Catholic Charities, we are hearing from adults who lived for a brief time at St. Vincent's Orphanage, the wonderful life-affirming agency that operated out of our headquarters for 91 years, serving thousands of women, children, and families until it closed in 1972. Our post-adoption services help adults who want to learn more about their experience at St. Vincent's. Our compassionate staff members provide whatever family background information they can offer, along with support and reunion services. To learn more, call 312-655-7093. That's 312-655-7093. The spirit of St. Vincent's lives on in the inspiring stories that continue to emerge today.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Welcome back to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ, 750 AM, 312-255-8408. Father Greg Sakowicz, Rector at Holy Name Cathedral, and Mark Teresi, Executive Director of the Cathedral. It was a great first half program, Mark, and the same thing will happen in the second half, called the Evening of Light, a special Holy Mass of prayer, gratitude, and remembrance for all first responders and for all loved ones affected through violence at Christ Our Light Catholic Church in Chicago. Our guests, Father David Simonetti and Officer Eric Davis. Father David Simonetti and Officer Eric Davis, welcome to the program this morning. How you doing, David? Hello, Eric. Good morning.
Hi, how are you today?
Good. Welcome.
Welcome there. Now, is Father David Simonetti there? Oh, he's not. He's not on yet. And
is he awake? Did he wake up? No.
Father Simonetti wake up yet? We'll try to get a hold of him. So now, Eric, you are a officer. What district?
Yes, so I am a Chicago police officer in the 4th District, which is the furthest most southeast district in the city. We border Indiana, and that is the area in which Father Simonetti and Christ of Light Church is located.
Is that church combination like a Benunciata and St. Francis de Sales? Where is the church?
Yeah, it's 13145 South Houston.
Oh, okay.
And it is a culmination. It used to be St. Florian.
Oh, sure. In Hegwish.
Yes.
Yeah.
In
my gosh.
Hegwish, exactly.
Now, do you live in that area, Eric?
I do not. However, with the 4th District, I am the faith-based liaison from the Community Policing Office.
Beautiful.
So my job is to connect with all the pastors and faith-based leaders of the area to build and form relationships so that we may combat some of our criminal activity from a different perspective. And so that's what I do. And so that's how Father Simonetti and myself began working together.
Now, question, what is your background? Are you born and raised in Chicago?
Yes, born and raised actually in the 4th District.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school at Hyde Park High School.
Oh,
on
sure.
62nd and Stony Island.
Oh, yeah. And now, just interesting, what made you want to be a police officer? Does that go back to grammar school? Somebody invited you to think about that in high school? What's kind of your story or thoughts about that?
So it was one of those things as a child, watching movies and just thinking about being able to make a positive difference in the community. But then as I went through school, I strayed off of that path and started doing other things. And lo and behold, the opportunity came up and I took advantage, and I'm glad I did, especially seeing as though I get to work with pastors and faith-based leaders such as people like Dave Simonetti.
Interesting. I think we have with us on the air right now Father David Simonetti. And good morning, David. How are you?
Oh, how are you?
Good. Now, you're ordained. What class are you ordained?
2005.
2005. My gosh, you're such a young priest. And
well, no, not chronologically. I mean, yes, AARP is already sending me stuff.
Oh, so you're more in my bracket.
Cheese and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm older. I'm 54.
Old. Look at 54.
David was up at Mundelein when I was there. Great.
Oh, so then, David, you remember Mark Teresi then from Mundelein Seminary?
But of course,
yeah.
Wonderful man.
Very involved. David, you did a lot of great work up there as a seminarian, and now you're doing great work as a priest. So
now, David, Officer Eric Davis has been giving us kind of his background. And now, what made you put this whole thought, idea, evening together, Evening of Light, a special Holy Mass of prayer, gratitude, and remembrance for all first responders and for all loved ones affected through violence at Christ Our Light Catholic Church. Was that your idea? Was that Eric's idea? That come from somebody else?
I would say it was a combination of Eric and the men and women around him, and what I would say is Christ's response. Christ's response to violence is himself, the light. Now, here's the thing. When I first got here, the first thing I did, because of the, if you want to call it the culture of the neighborhood, and we're on the very south edge of Chicago, I built a shrine called the Shrine of Protectors. And it's for police, fire, military, all first responders. And then the Chicago Police Department and fire departments actually gave to me helmets, sergeant hats, and the it's all original. absolutely gorgeous. And we had a big dedication mass and blessing for them. So recently, just a few weeks ago, we're in the Chicago neighborhood called Hegwish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and just I could throw a stone and hit the spot, and Eric Davis knows this really well. A poor 70-year-old woman, 5 a.m, sitting out in her car with her son in the car next to her, just waiting to go into work at
the grocery store, right? Yeah.
She just, 2 young guys, they had done like 5 carjackings. This was like 4:30 in the morning, and one was 17, 15. They just walked up there and started shooting and killed her. And we all, as a community, we all gathered together and mourned, you know, in those days. And I've been with Eric now for a few of these prayer services, but he also includes me, and I'm glad to. There's a Friday throughout the summer at different sites. Eric and the police department pray with faith community leaders, and so I'm very familiar with it. And so I went to him. I said, "Listen, our church now, it used to be called St. Florian. Now it's called Christ Our Light." I said, somebody who works for me said, who's got little kids, young children, said, and whose husband is a cop, said to me, "I don't feel safe." She said, "I feel so vulnerable. It happened right here. I've got kids." And this woman was just going into work, and I said, "You know, darkness, fear, Christ." Pope John Paul said, Jesus Christ is the answer to the question that is every human life. And John's gospel, and the darkness did not overcome it. So I approached Eric. I said, "Here's what I would like to do. Work with me. Please tell me your feedback. I would like to have something called Evening of Light for these officers." And quite honestly, and this isn't a religious question at all, it's just all you have to do is look around, especially the Chicago Police Department, for different winds that are blowing throughout our time, are not, I don't mean by the average people, but there seems to be a downing on them. It almost seems to be in vogue or something.
In fact, what I want to do, David, is
they're not always supported, even truthfully, by their superiors.
Yeah, what I want to, David, what I want to do is I want to interrupt there because we need to go to break. But I want to take that thought, and we come back after Mark takes us to break. Eric, I have a question. The question is going to be, in light of all the violence, especially going back, well, for many, many years, but I think of the violence in Chicago, not summer of 21, but summer of 20. I've dealt with many Chicago police officers, men and women, who find it so difficult to serve at this time for myriad of reasons. I want to talk further about that, how it's affected your own life, but Mark, take us to break.
Okay, WNDZ, 750 AM on your dial, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408, or you can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're speaking with Father David Simonetti and Officer Eric Davis, and we're talking about special Holy Mass of prayer, gratitude, remembrance for all first responders and for all loved ones affected through violence. We'll be at Christ Our Light Catholic Church. We'll continue our conversation in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
Catholic Charities Veterans Employment Services help veterans find and maintain employment through job readiness training, resume writing assistance, mock interviews, and job placement counseling. We work with a wide array of employers and community partners to help veterans reach their career goals. We owe a debt of gratitude to all of our veterans for the sacrifices they made to serve our nation. It is our privilege now to assist them. To learn more about Catholic Charities Veterans Employment Program in Cook County, call 773-808-2954. In Lake County, call 847-782-4219. You can also learn more at CatholicCharities.net. To all United States veterans, thank you for your service.
I feel special. I feel great. I got good grades.
We've seen a huge surge in our kids now meeting or exceeding grade level. Come check us out. You may have never thought we were an option before.
Are you looking for quality, affordable childcare at this back-to-school time of year? Look no further than Catholic Charities Child Development Centers. We have 2 locations conveniently located in Berwyn and Summit, offering before and after-school care, as well as full-day childcare. Each center offers a safe, welcoming environment where children receive a nutritious breakfast, lunch, and snack while participating in a creative, age-appropriate curriculum that is challenging and fun. Preschoolers enjoy art, music, literature, and computer activities, while our school-age program includes homework help, art, sports, music, field trips, and more. Catholic Charities staff members are highly qualified, caring people who want the very best for every child. Our child care centers are especially popular with working parents. Enroll your child today. To learn more, visit CatholicCharities.net/childdevelopment or call 312-636-5398. That's 312-636-5398.
We're back. Catholic Chicago, WNDZ, 750 AM, 312-255-8408, or you can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're speaking with Father David Simonetti and Officer Eric Davis about an evening of light coming up, a special Holy Mass, prayer, gratitude, remembrance for all first responders and for all loved ones affected through violence. It's going to be at Christ Our Light Catholic Church. Father Greg, you have a question.
Yeah, Eric, I'm just very impressed with what you've said so far in the program. And I've talked to many police officers, men and women here downtown. When I see a police officer in car or foot or on horse, I always go up to him and say, may God bless you. You are unsung heroes. Thank you for all you're doing. They so appreciate it. What's sustaining you during these days? Because to be a police officer where they've said to me they've been spit upon, given the finger, just cars going by in Chicago, and you're shaking your head for those who can see, yes, you know what I'm talking about. What's keeping you going during these days?
Well, first and foremost, my belief in God is the first and foremost thing that keeps me going. But secondly, the fact that I know that I'm out trying to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a lot of positive work, building bridges between the Chicago Police Department and the communities, as well as trying to reverse the uptick of criminal activity in the 4th District.
What a great response.
Now, you're working with Father David on this special event. Give us a little background on Father David from your take, from your perspective.
Be nice, Eric, okay?
Father Dave. Father Dave is one of my favorites. He tells it like it is. He's always very honest and pure in his answers, and he's always trying to do something positive for the community and for first responders.
Well, that is
so he's a great guy to work with.
Eric, David, that's a high compliment coming from a police officer. So God bless you, Dave, for the work that you're doing. And, first of all, Dave, when is this evening of light? We've been talking about it, but when is this evening happening?
Sure. It's this Friday, 2 days from now, and no, tomorrow. And it is at 6, it begins promptly at 6 p.m. here at Christ Our Light in Hegewisch.
Give the address again.
13145 South Houston Avenue. It's Chicago, 60633.
Mm-hmm. And that would be tomorrow evening, which is September 24th, 6 p.m. It would last about how long?
I would say we have some very, very special things planned. I would say roughly probably an hour and 15 minutes.
Now, is this indoors or outdoors?
Oh, it's indoors. We have a very large church, so it'll be indoors.
Give people a reason why they should come.
Well, if they appreciate God's kindness to give us men and women who protect those whom God loves and that we love, and to show them support, because discouragement for, like I said, the person who works for me said, I'm scared. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, fear that paralyzes would not be from God, and it would be from the enemy of human nature. And so we want to show them prayer, gratitude, support in person. And so it's going to be the most prayerful evening that we can, and support that we can offer.
Now, Dave, I have to ask you this question. That is, being a priest now for 16 years, and especially with the violence in Chicago a year ago, summer, and all that's happening even right now. 2 questions for you. What is sustaining you, and when your work that you're doing, what do you find to be the most challenging? Included upon that is the pandemic that we're still in.
I'll give you the best answer that I think anyone could give you, and it's short and succinct. The tomb is empty.
Okay. Yeah, resurrection, new life.
Now, I had a question then, David, since that was such a short answer, but give your take on Officer Eric Davis. I mean, you guys seem to have a wonderful relationship that's been developed. Give us he gave a summary of you. What about your summary of him?
Well, he gives me a break on double parking.
God bless you, Eric. God bless you. That says it all.
Amazing when a couple of jars of my spaghetti sauce will do. No, better living through high sodium. No. Cardinal George used to say, we can laugh, Jesus rose. Christians don't have to walk around so dowdy. We can laugh, Jesus rose.
Oh my gosh, yes. We need humor.
Yeah. Yeah, and Cardinal George also used to say, what do people think? The lights run on the gospel? But Eric Davis, see, it's just that. It's the human camaraderie. We both, according to our realms and milieu that the Lord has placed us in, we're working together for the Lord, and there's a joy there, and there's a necessary support there.
Here's something interesting, David, when you're talking. Someone would say, oh, what a coincidence that Father David Simonetti and Eric Davis met each other. The best definition of coincidence I ever heard is, a coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. A coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. And so the Lord has brought the both of you together. And it's not a coincidence. It's God's way of remaining anonymous. And the great work you're doing from that. And so now going back to Eric for a moment for you, and that is, what is going to be your role in the event tomorrow evening?
So my role was to make sure that officers and first responders were aware. And then from there, to bring some of the other faith-based leaders into the fold, into the mix, to make sure that they were supporting this event. And also, I will say a few words of encouragement to both the first responders and the faith-based leaders.
Beautiful. Now, what's next? So that the gathering is tomorrow. What's in the hopper for the future in terms of how you guys are working together? Anything you can talk to us about?
We're giving. Today is the feast of Saint Padre Pio, and what you said about coincidence, someone said to him once, a faithful said, "Oh, it was something that God did wonderful," and because he had the saints have the best lines because they have the most light, and they said to him, "Oh, Father Pio, that's just coincidence." He said, "Well, you're right, but who arranged the coincidence?"
Mm-hmm.
So, you see me and Eric there at the dedication of the shrine. So I offered those are original paintings of St. Michael and Florian, the patron of firefighters. That painting there of St. Michael with the six-pack abs and all. Mm-hmm. I offered to be the model. She said, "Oh, your hair is too short." I said, I just got it cut, so I was out. So they used Brad Pitt. Anyhow, I am giving Eric a community service award to give light to everything he is doing in our community at our Gala Fall event, Midnight in Manhattan, in just October 16th. He's going to be presented with a community service award.
Beautiful. Congratulations, Eric.
That is wonderful. And so the thing is, the both of you are working so well together, but I think even from our previous guest, we have to be, from what Eugene Giudice said, hope for each other, because these are very difficult times with the pandemic still raging, which I've seen it cause division among families and communities and neighborhoods about those vaccinated and unvaccinated. But somehow we have to all work together for the good, and with the strength. I always say God is with us and God will see us through. That God is with us and God will see us through. Again, David, the event is tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. at Christ Our Light Catholic Church in Chicago in Hegwish, and begins promptly at 6, ends about an hour and a half for the service. And I just think it's marvelous the work you're doing. But here's the thing, David, you are certainly reaching out into the community, and I want to thank you, Father David, and also Eric Davis for the great work that you do. And God bless all our first responders, the police officers, firefighters, paramedics, who serve the people of God. We need to bring the program to a close.
And we're officers to please come in uniform. Paramedics, officers, police, fire, military, come in uniform, because we want to publicly see you and thank you.
So Father David Simonetti and Officer Eric Davis, thank you for joining us on the program this morning for Catholic Chicago. Special thanks to co-host Mark Teresi. Mark, always great being with you.
What a joy.
Wearing masks during the program this morning. Special thanks to our producers, engineers, Michael May, Brian Hockey, Hitman Brock. To our listeners, may God bless all of you. I hope the White Sox start winning a little bit, even though they made postseason. And may the Bears show up Sunday against the Cleveland Browns and Cubs. God bless them for next year.
And happy fall, everybody.
Happy second day of fall.
Join us every Monday through Friday at this time for Catholic Chicago. You can stream our programs live or listen to past programs by visiting our website, archchicago.org, and clicking on Radio TV. And please connect with Catholic Chicago on social media.